Hello, friends. Uh, we have already completed domain one. Today, we'll be starting with domain two, which is about cloud governance and strategy. So, let's start. Okay. So, out of the 12 domains in CCSK, we are at domain two, cloud governance and strategy, which focus on cloud governance with an emphasis on the role of security. Governance will be based on framework of policies, procedures, and controls that are designed to promote transparency and accountability to define standards. You do need a strong governance in order to strategize or address your risk management, mitigation, compliance monitoring, remediation, cost control. Okay, so let's move forward and then deep dive. So, cloud governance refers to the set of policies, procedures, and standards that ensure cloud computing resources are used efficiently, securely, and in compliance with the organizational policies and regulations. So, the key objectives will be ensuring security and compliance, optimize cloud cost, improve resource utilization, enhance IT service management, aligned to cloud security with business goals. As you see on the screen, there are a couple of frameworks which you can follow, like COBIT, Open Group. These are some of the governance standard. Also, in contrast to what are the laws and regulations that affect the IT governance, like GLBA, SOX, GDPR. Then you also have PDPA in Singapore, as well as HIPAA for healthcare. So yeah, this is a very important slide. You should mark it. The reason is you have to first understand why we need governance. So governance is actually more towards an administrative control, which actually let you drive your business objectives. So as you understand, cloud is a multi-tenancy environment. That means you have multiple organizations using the shared resources. Then you are hosting your data. You have your applications running on it. So security is one of the key things. So hence in order to achieve security and even compliance, you need to have a governance model. Okay. Also, cloud is seen as a way or perceived as a way to achieve cost saving. In order to do that, you have to be very clear how the resources are being implemented, how they are being used. Is there any process procedures defined to do a evaluation? Okay. On top of that, you have to drive towards your business goals, but in order to achieve your business goal, you have to perform a risk assessment. Okay, so you have to reduce the risk to an optimum level, which is called as risk appetite. That means which is agreeable or acceptable levels within your organization. So all in all, what you have to understand as a benefit of a cloud governance, you need to have an improved security and compliance. You have to optimize cloud cost, enhance IT efficiency, alignment towards the business goals, heavily reduce the risk or to meet your risk appetite, and also the scalability and flexibility. Okay, in order to understand cloud adoption, we have to understand how was the scenario before cloud. So before cloud, we actually have data centers. These were either owned by the organization or they were co-host. That means you have a data center space provider where he allocates you a space where you can put in your servers, your storage, your network devices. Then you have a network connectivity. Then you can actually set up your application databases, and the IT governance was on top of that. Okay, with the public cloud, it's a totally different ballgame. What happened is it is not anymore a model wherein you are owning any of the environment. What you have shared resources. If you have credentials, you have a credit card, then definitely you can log in and then you can create your own account. You can provision your resources over there. Okay, but that means we don't have any more physical parameter anymore. We don't have to rely on that. There is nothing we can tangibly access. So everything is intangible. Okay. So now, in order to understand how the governance for the cloud happens, there are two primary ways. First is a shared responsibility mode or model. Okay. So shared responsibility mode actually defines the roles between the cloud service provider and the cloud customer. So service provider, where he actually uh, uh, helps you with the physical environment. As a customer, you are also responsible to maybe put up an operating system and then patch the operating system, depending upon what kind of service model we are aligning to. On top of that, you are also introducing third party service provider. That means which are giving you additional services, maybe your firewall services, your database activity monitoring services. So that also introduced into the supply chain. On top of that, you have to understand the inherited nature of the cloud. That means there are native services which are provided by the cloud and how they operate. We have to learn and understand and align yourself to those. So, hence, to understand a cloud adoption, you have to have knowledge how things were previously done and what will be the processes, procedures after we have adopted cloud. Okay. So as cloud governance provides you with some benefits, but it comes with its own complexity. So these complexity could be like the control and accountability. Okay, you don't have a direct control on the IT infrastructure. You don't know where are these data center hosted, these servers hosted, where are the resources being taken from. Okay, what are these clusters underneath? Okay, so you don't have the information about it. So you have to be very careful and have to understand that the model has changed, which was used to be previously owned, that means the IT infrastructure which was owned by our organization or co-hosted, it's no more there. We don't have anything tangible. Okay. So now comes in, do we outsource our accountability as well? The answer is no. No, we don't do that. Accountability still remains with the customer itself. Okay, so keep in mind always that cloud service provider is for the security of the cloud, and the customer is responsible for security in the cloud. So whatever you are hosting, you are accountable, and you will, or you have to ensure that it's secure enough. Okay. On top of that, you have to rely more on the assessment activities rather than actual testing. Testing comes in as the part of the execution and the changes, but when you are adopting or you are putting up any kind of cloud resources, you have to do a thorough assessment, because now some of them is not even owned by you. It could be a third party, it could be a fourth party that is managing it. Okay. On top of that, legal and regulatory compliance is very important. Your customers must be, the services being offered to you from the cloud service provider, they are across the globe. And then you have your customers connecting from different locations. So what laws and what regulations apply to that? Okay, especially when it comes to privacy, who owns the data owner, how is the classification done, whether it's even valid in their uh, in their jurisdiction. Okay, now might, so you have to be very clear and examine all these clauses very carefully. Definitely, the visibility and transparency is very challenging. How the data is being moved, what is the data, what is the metadata? We we cannot, we don't have the clear visibility about it. So while things come with their benefits, they also have their complexity. We have next slide, which will talk about few more aspects. Okay. In continuation to the cloud governance complexity, there is another topic about customization and standardization. Okay. So you have been offered services by the cloud service provider, but can you customize them? Okay, are these even customizable? Okay, and definitely not one service fits all. So definitely you have to do an assessment whether you actually have the option, or it's just a lift and shift, or use what is being provided and then accommodate or align towards that. Okay, this also comes in or becomes more challenging to scope the activities. Okay, so when you are getting a service which is a IaaS service, then PaaS service and SaaS service, depending upon that, your governance model has to be, aligned. Okay, if you have a SaaS service, you have a very limited control. So it's like you have to either, take that service and then modify a few of the parameters. That's it. But in contrast to IaaS service, where you have an opportunity to install the operating system, customize the operating system, you have to do the hardening by yourself. So all these have to be clearly defined, and this comes under the governance, and but that adds the complexity itself. Okay, the dynamics between the CSP and the customer, they always changing. CSPs are always providing new services, uh, new governance models, but again at the same time, on the customer front, the one who's using it has to also update their skills. They have to be well versed what are these new services, how they impact their environment. While cloud service provider also do their due diligence, it also required by the customer to actually upskill and understand and perform auditing for these. Okay, to have an effective cloud governance, these are the key things or the best practices which we need to establish. Okay, we need to have a clear cloud policies and procedures, define roles and responsibility. What is the responsibility of a customer? What is the responsibility of a provider? Okay, we can also establish a COE, Center of Excellence for Cloud, then perform a regular requirement gathering, conduct regular security audits and risk assessment. Also ensure that you are compliant with the regulatory requirement, with your business requirements, business goals, and keep monitoring and reporting on the cloud performance. So whatever you see on the list right now, yeah, these are kind of very key and important things. Just make a note of that, and those highly important. I've actually marked them in yellow. Okay, uh, very important. If you have any discussion about data, do classify the data. It's very important, and your digital assets. Understand you don't have any physical assets anymore, so you have all digital assets. So ensure that you have classified the information being stored on that. Okay, cloud registry is kind of a very uh, key word I've identified in CCSK. It talks about the inventory. It's you should have a cloud registry. So whenever you hear the word cloud registry, it is referring to the inventory. Okay. In the governance hierarchy, we already mentioned how the hierarchy has to be. It will be definitely in a few more slides coming on. Okay. And as I said, the most important thing all of these is the roles and responsibility, and always remember back of your mind that service provider is responsible for security of the cloud and the customer is responsible security in the cloud. Okay, a cloud center of excellence is a centralized team that drives cloud adoption, governance, and optimization within an organization. So it's not one single person, let's say your security team, which is driving this. You need to have architecture, you have security team, you have developers, you have SMEs, you have leadership team, IT operations as well as part of that. Okay. What is the objective? So hence, why we need a CCOE? Okay. So that means that the key objective you have to list down is the strategy, how the strategy will be defined or developed. Okay, how the governance and the compliance will be achieved, how we are going to perform the architecture and design, security and risk management, cost optimization, skill development is a key, the training for your people, because there are always new services which are being coming up. Vendor management, third party, fourth party, they are very key. And also the innovation, how you're going to innovate and how you keep innovating something within your cloud. That means using the new services, re-architecturing of your environment and all that. Okay. So all in all, it will give you a lot of benefits. Definitely, you will have an improved governance and compliance. You have a better risk appetite or risk management in terms of managing it. Optimize costs is one of them again. Improve skills and expertise. Definitely, over the span of time, you will see the things are being changing, transformed, and then that is where uh, the entire organization is driving towards. Okay. Also, initially, when you start any kind of cloud adoption, you will definitely find cloud being a bit of complex, but definitely as you move along, and then you will understand that the complexity are getting reduced. Okay. So as we mentioned that this is not a single person or a team which is managing it. It is the organization which is driving it. So you need to have cloud architecture, security specialists, you have to have an operations team, a team which is managing your cost. Okay, someone actually, or the, let's say, the learning management, which is actually is needed to train and develop this specialist. Okay, vendor management, and definitely you need to have a leadership which actually backs you up. Okay, I found a very good term called a security champion, and it draw my attention. So um, what you understand from security champion is this is not someone within the security team itself. Okay, this is within the organization. Let's say you have a team, and this team could be, or HR could be, payroll, which have a hands-on role. Okay, these people are not actually who are more towards or coming from the security team itself, not your CISO, BISO, and information security officers. Okay, These are actually uh, people who are coming from different uh, teams, and the role they are going to play is to guide you or help you to understand where could be the security loops or holes. So this is quite important term. Keep a make a note of that. And what you have to understand from this slide is uh, how you cultivate and encourage a security aware environment. That means people working on day-to-day tasks are aware that security is everyone's responsibility. So hence, these people who are chosen from different team could be a point of contact, and they go back and also, work with their individual managers, team uh, peers, and then they come back with some sort of information which helps you to understand about the business, how the workflow works. Okay, so it will be always good to provide them with some interactive training. I don't suggest that everyone should be going for ethical hacking training and all that, but yeah, some basic training where they can understand what will be their role, how they can benefit to the environment, to the organization itself. Okay, so again, you have to promote a security culture within the cloud. That's the very key or very important requirement. Okay, so governance actually typically consists of kind of levels like board of directors, executive management, governance committees, governance officers, business unit managers, operational teams. Okay, so all in all, but why you need that? Why you need a hierarchy? The hierarchy is that means the decision or the can be taken. We have a direction to follow, we have a strategy, and then we also understand that we have a clear asymmetrics: who's responsible, who's accountable, who should be consulted, who should be informed. Okay, so all in all, in this hierarchy, the key thing is there are three parts to it. The first one is risk framework. You need to have a risk framework to identify or understand the risk in your environment, how you're going to assess the risk, how you're going to mitigate, remediate the risk. If there is a residual risk, how you're going to manage it. So either you can follow ISO 27005, NIST 830. That's some of them. The next one comes as a program framework. So program framework is all the cybersecurity framework or the information security framework, which that needs to be defined. That actually helps you to do the governance piece of it. Okay, there are some well-defined programs wherein you can just take it like ISO. You can just take them, customize according to your need, and then you can start using it. And the lastly, the control framework. So all in while you have a strategy, you know what to achieve, and but how to achieve, what kind of controls will be in place, how these controls will be implemented, how they will be monitored, measured, what will be the smart way of doing it. So all this comes under control framework. So to understand a governance hierarchy, there are key, or I would say there are three tiers to that. First is a policy which outlines what is the organization requirement, that translates to a framework, guidelines, actionable statements. Then you have control objectives. What are the specific policies? You have account usage policy, access usage policy, cloud usage policy. Okay, on top of that, you have to understand how to implement it. In order to get the how, you need to define what are the control specification, whether it's a technical control, administrative control, how you're going to manage it, how you're going to write it, where it will be documented. So these are the key things which actually a governance hierarchy will provide you. Okay, uh, this slide is kind of very important from an exam perspective as well. So cloud security frameworks, uh, how to understand it? It is something which is used to organize and prioritize your security control objectives and how to achieve the desired outcome. Okay, that's the statement. Okay, what you have to do or what you have to understand is how the framework works. So first of all, what are available frameworks we have? We have CSM, which is Cloud Control Matrix. Then you have ISO 27017. Okay, you have 27018 as well. Then you have cloud security maturity model, which is called as CSMM. Okay, I will deep dive into cloud control metrics. This is the important one, for a reason, because it actually very specific to the cloud requirement defined by CSA. Okay, and it is kind of a library of controls, as there are about 17 domains which you can go through. You can download a copy, you can take a look. Okay, the most important thing is this CCM is actually aligned to leading standards. ISO 27001, 2, and then PCI DSS. And then it can be used to tailor your own custom environment or your cloud environment. You can actually use it, define your own controls, and then those you can document it, and then you can follow it along. Okay. Also, it helps you to define a cloud governance. Okay. If you want to have a strong governance program, you can definitely use it. Also understand CCM, okay? You will also hear a term called as CAIQ, okay? This is kind of a checklist. So CAIQ is a checklist. CCM is a matrix, okay? So matrix for the controls within within your environment, or you can or which are defined by CSA, and CAIQ is a checklist in order to evaluate the controls. Okay, you'll also hear a term called STAR, STAR registry. So STAR stands for Security, Trust, Assurance, and Risk. Okay, it's a publicly accessible registry, and then actually it documents the security and privacy controls. It's more about the controls. Then you can use the CAIQ, which I previously mentioned is a checklist, in order to do the evaluation of the control. Okay, it actually provides you with a lot of transparency, and you can put your confidence towards your cloud service provider. You can do an assessment. So with a STAR program, it comprises of two components. As mentioned, there is one certification and one is attestation. Okay, certification is about an independent third-party evaluation of cloud service provider security against the CSA CCM metrics. Okay, what do you understand from there? Okay, so what we can or we can have a third party, let's say an auditor, who can come and evaluate our cloud service provider, or cloud service provider can ask a third party to use this to provide them with a certification, star certification, okay, which will indicate that the service provider has actually implemented robust security measures. Okay, certification might take its own sweet time. You need to have resources for that. What you can do, or this is more towards the CSP itself, they can use an attestation. What they do is they do a self-assessment. They take a copy of it, and then they go and validate whether the controls mentioned in the CCM is actually something they align, they have it. Okay, that gives the transparency to the customer to make an informed decision. That means they have implemented the controls which are expected, or the minimum control. Okay, again, the STAR program actually helps out the organization. Let's say you are adopting cloud, then it helps you out to actually understand the security, what's the security posture, how is the compliance being done, uh, and the privacy is being handled by the service provider. So all in all, this slide is very important. Always remember STAR as security, trust, assurance, and risk. Okay, so the last part is the policies within the cloud governance and strategy. So what we have is, what is a policy? Policy is actually something which is shared on the very high level, but it actually provides you with a direction uh, for the necessary control objectives. Okay, there are I've actually listed down some of the key example, like you have information security policy, you have AUP, acceptable use policy. That means your IT resources should be used appropriately. You have a remote work policy. That means when you're working on the or remotely working from home, what should be your behavior, when should be available, connected, what will be the means, should not be using public locations. So that's defined in these kind of policies. Then a new thing which you will identify is use of cloud services policy. This is something I've seen only for cloud, definitely for a reason, but again, this is actually a policy itself. Okay, which defines how the cloud will be used to store the data, how the data will be managed, classified, archived, stored, what will be, and how the data will be handled, whether it will be handled for 7 years, 10 years, where it will be stored for long term, short term, how it will be retrieved, and all that. So all in all, if you have to, in the last statement, if you see, is like information security policies are essential, actionable, and drive security policies, and a strong cybersecurity culture for a clear framework of security practice. So it actually ensures that you have a right level of protection applied in different environment. Okay, I want to thank you again. So like and subscribe the channel, and I will be adding more videos soon. Thanks a lot.